Hello everyone, thank you for tuning back to the 5am networking. We are talking about the perfect way to create an Aruba based wireless network BOQ, and this is part 2 video. Part 1 video is in the description, so please refer to part 1 video. This is the continuation of the part 1 video. In part 1 video we were discussing about the instant based network and a cloud based network. So in this part we will be discussing about wireless requirements based on a controller based network. So when it comes to a controller based network, we can propose a controller when the number of access points are more than 128, or if customer insists, we can also propose a controller for even 30-40 access points. That's fine. Maybe in the future he may have plans to develop or add more access points. That's always, customers are always right. So when a customer's requirement is to go with a controller based network, we can suggest, okay, there is an instant topology, so there is a central topology. If you're not interested, yes, that's fine, we can go with controller. So if it is more than 128 access points, we need a controller. So we are going to propose controller, and we're going to talk about controller based solution. So before we talk about controller based solution, we'll talk about the access points of Aruba networks. The access points of Aruba networks are called as unified access points. Unified access points are those access points which can behave as instant, which can behave as central, which can be onboarded to the cloud, which can also work with the controller, which can also work as a remote access point. So one access point. In earlier days, we need to order instant access point for an instant based network. Then we need to order a campus access point for controller based network. But now no need. The same access point can behave as instant or as controller. So consider your customer has already around 30-40 access point which is instant. So you can just buy a controller in the future if he's expanding his network, so he needs to add another 100 access points. So you don't have to take back the instant and then propose a new type of access point. No need. You can convert the instant to a campus based access point, and you don't have to change the AP model. So this is unified network. Unified architecture where the same access point can behave as instant or campus or cloud or remote, or that's fine. So when the number of access points are more than 128, for sure you need a controller. So in this requirement, there is no redundancy required. Customer is looking for a cost-effective value engineered solution. He needs 2 outdoor access points and 500 indoor access points. So let's open the Iris software, and indoor access points 505. We'll select the mounting kit, attributes 500. Done, complete. Let's select the outdoor access point, and then 2. We'll select the mounting kit, attributes 2, and spare 20% spare. That's huge, but still that's okay. As we always say, customers are always right. That's his requirement. So 20% spare and 20% spare. Done. So added the access points. Now for controller. Okay, let's go to the controller based solution. We are proposing a controller here. So mobility controllers are gateways. You have an option to choose between campus or branch. Branch are smaller controllers, and campus has higher capacity. Okay, so 70 to 100, it's almost like 502 access points, right? 500 indoor and 2 outdoor, the rest are spares. Okay, so let's select the controller 7210 that supports 512 access points. Okay, perfect. Added the controller, so no need redundancy. So you're not going to propose a redundant solution, but if you do not if your customer doesn't need a redundant controller, it is highly recommended to add a redundant power supply. Okay, and you have to change the power cord to UK based. So let's just check. I normally do this. I don't know why, but I do this. I just go back here to check if I have added the redundant power supply. So this is how the redundant power supply looks like once added. So the controller is there. Okay, now let's add SFPs. Okay, so I'm just keeping in the same mode. That's because once you add the SFPs, you will be able to see the SFPs populating over here. So let's add this. Uh, multi-mode added, then another multi-mode. Okay, done. So that's it. Now let's talk about the support contract for the controllers. 3 years, that's your customer's requirement. 3 years, but you don't need it for the access points here because you have uh, the controller on the support unless or until your customer needs NBD, next business day, for the access points, and then you can add it. But normally you don't need. All you need is the 24/7 support for the licenses, and or for the controllers. Okay, so that's the part here. Okay, so next let's add licenses. Okay, so it's 502 access points. There are multiple type of licenses that you can propose to your customer, and if your customer is looking for any specific type of functionality, then you can add that specific license. But for access points to work with controllers, you just need AP license. With AP license, you can create SSIDs, and APs can be associated with the controllers, and you can have the wireless network up and running. But if your customer is looking for a policy enforcement firewall where you can create restrictions for the users connecting to the wireless network by creating access lists and all these functionalities, you will need PEF license. You don't need a PEF license still for using the stateful firewall on the controller. The controller has stateful firewall where you can restrict inter-user traffic. You can prohibit ARP spoofing, DHCP spoofing, and all these things. That's those basic stateful firewall policies can still work without PEF. The PEF is only required when you need to restrict bandwidth for users connecting to Wi-Fi, or for those users who are connecting to Wi-Fi and need to be restricted to reach a particular IP address, creating an access lists, policies, and access policies, and all these things. So that is where you need PEF. RF Protect license is for protecting the RF environment from we have we have stop. We have something called spectrum analysis and wireless intrusion prevention. Okay, so when you want to prevent wireless intrusion, then you will need RF Protect. Still, the wireless intrusion detection will still happen without RF Protect license. But if you want to prevent it by categorizing, then you need RF Protect license. So VI is for virtual internet access, where a remote user can establish an IPsec tunnel to the controller itself, and then can access the internal network. So that's for VIA. As of now, we'll just go ahead with AP license. So it's 502. Done. Okay, that's it. We'll now have an option to add support for the license. So 3 years support. This is for the TAC support, where the customer can call the TAC, and he can take the TAC can take access of the controller for any issues in the network in the future. So that's it. Provided the support, the BOQ is ready. So this is requirement number 3. Okay, done. So requirement number 3 is done. 2 SFPs, 502 licenses, 502 support for licenses, Then we have one controller, and we have one extra power supply with 2 power cords, and this is for support again, and access points with mounting brackets, access point with mounting brackets. Awesome. So let's go to the fourth requirement, where the customer has another site with 2 controllers and 300 access points. He needs to manage that site as well from the main site where he is connecting the other site with MPLS. And then he needs a solution, a workable solution where clustering should be possible, virtualization should be possible, and load balancing and redundancy is required in this particular solution. So this solution is what Aruba calls as mobility master or mobility conductor or and mobility controller solution, where you will have a mobility conductor managing the mobility controllers in clusters. So consider you have site A and site B. The site A is what we are proposing a solution for, but customer has another site, site B, with 2 controllers and 300 access points. So he needs to manage those controllers and access points from the central location. He is connecting site A and site B with MPLS, and he needs clustering. So site A will be one cluster, site B will be one cluster. So this is possible with MMMC architecture. So let us see MMMC architecture, where we'll delete this. We'll start from the beginning. Okay. So when it comes to access points, again the requirements are same. So 600 access points indoor, and then outdoor 3. Sorry, rest of the world. We'll select the mounting kit, and 3. Okay, access points are done. So now let's look into the controllers. Okay, so you have options. Let's add the controller first. 7200, 7210. He needs redundancy, so we'll select the SFP. You don't need a redundant power supply since you are going to propose 2 controllers, but it's up to you. If your customer needs a redundant power supply, then yes, please go ahead and propose it. But we have 2 controllers, so I'm not going to add a redundant power supply. If you want DAC cable, but not here. If you want a rack mount, it's our accessories. So we'll just add 2 controllers. After we add 2 controllers, we will add the licenses. It's 502. I am adding the licenses after making 2 controllers. That's because if you change the attributes to 2 after you change the licenses, it's going to multiply the licenses twice. So I'm just first adding 2 controllers, then coming back to license. Okay, so now licenses are added, access points are added, and controllers are added. Now we'll talk about the mobility conductor. So mobility conductor, you have multiple options where it can be virtual or it can be hardware based. If it is hardware based, the licenses are hard coded. So if it is hardware controller, you have the licenses or the number of devices that the mobility controller can manage is hard coded. Okay, so we are not going to have that device in this particular BOQ because customer wants virtualization. So Aruba mobility controller virtual appliance is added. So 2 controllers, 300 access points, and another 2 controllers with 600 access points. So it's almost 1000 devices together. So 1K. We are going to provide support for 1000 devices. Okay. So this is virtual appliance, and then we are going to provide support for 1000 devices. Okay. If you need hardware controllers, it's over here, where the controllers can be 1K. If you choose 1K, you cannot choose the licenses from here. The licenses will disappear. That's because it's hard coded. This can support 1000 devices, and this can support 5000 devices, and this can support 10,000 devices altogether. Okay. So we'll be choosing the virtual one. So virtual with 1000 devices. That's it, added. You can add one more controller, and you don't have to pay for the second controller licenses. So that's an option available with Aruba. It's enough if you pay for one set of licenses. The redundant virtual mobility conductor doesn't need another set of licenses to be paid for. Okay, so that's it, we added. So this mobility conductor will be able to manage this cluster, and also the other cluster where the customer has two controllers with 300 access points that can be managed with this device. This will be the mobility conductor where you cannot terminate access points. So this device, consider this device as a device where the configurations are to be done for the other controllers which is associated to this device. Okay, so these two controllers will be associated to this device as mobility controller. So that this will be in a cluster called site A. So the site A will be in a cluster where the configurations will be done in this mobility conductor, and the mobility conductor will be pushing the configurations to site A and site B. And you can also do configurations for both sites altogether. And also you can look upon the devices or what's happening in these clusters from this device. So consider this device just as a central device which will be managing the other controllers and access points getting associated to it. Okay. Again, just adding the support for license 3 years. Okay, so you don't need for access points. You don't need support for access points here. Yeah, for MC mobility conductor, again we can provide 3 years support. Customer needs 3 years support, right? So 3 years support. Done, and your BOQ is ready. Let's consider this as requirement 4. Done. Yes. So okay, so it's like 502 licenses. We changed it, but still that's fine, happens. Okay, so 4 transceivers, 2 controllers, and then okay, I think we did not configure one device. I think it's the controller. Let's go back to the controller. Power options. Okay, power cord was missing. That's bad, but that's okay. No. Export requirement 4. I'll have to close this, right? Save. Yes. Okay, so now done. So we have 2 controllers, 2 power cords. This comes with the power supply, so just the power cords. You have support, you have so that's done. Okay, so in few cases this will not, this option is when your customer insists to have load balancing, right? If your customer insists to have multiple sites managed centrally, right? So there may be a few cases where your customer would need redundancy, but he would need a cost-effective solution. Okay, customer needs redundancy but no need load balancing, no need for another site to be managed with this site. So just straightforward. Customer needs a effective solution with the controller with redundancy. In this case, let's do the same requirement of 500 access points. Okay, let's select the mounting kit, attributes, 500. Okay, let's take just the 500 access points as an example. Your customer needs redundancy, but no need for load balancing or no need to manage other sites using this site. So in this case, mobility controllers 7200, 7210, provide the licenses 500, SFPs, add the SFPs, 2 SFPs. No need for redundant power supply. Let's just select the power cord and make this order for 2 controllers. So why 2 controllers is one will be standalone, other will be standby. If you are aware of Aruba's 6.x architecture, the same is called as master standby. Okay, but now the word master is getting removed everywhere, so this is called as standalone and standby. So standalone standby architecture, 2 controllers will be managed or will be configured with redundancy using VRRP and master redundancy and high availability, HA. Okay, so if one controller fails, the other controller will seamlessly take over. But the downside of this is only one controller will be able to take the access points. The standalone will be the controller that will be managing the access points. The standby will be waiting for the standalone to go down so that the standby can become the standalone once the standalone has gone down, and the access points will be terminating on the second controller. So this is just a simple solution where you can still propose a controller, 2 controllers which will be working with redundancy. Okay, so you have just added the license support for the licenses. You don't need for the access points, 3 years support for the license. That's it. Your BOQ is here, where let's call this as requirement 5. Okay, great. So for SFP you have 500. Okay, I don't know, this pops up again. 500 licenses, 500 support for 500 licenses, 2 controllers, 2 power cords, and access points and mounting brackets. It's simple solution where you will be able to manage your customer's requirement with redundancy alone, not load balancing, and still not possible to manage other sites. If customer has other sites, it's not going to be possible. So that's it for perfect wireless based BOQ. Things to remember is, if you're proposing mobility conductor virtual or hardware based, if you are proposing the second for hardware, no, it doesn't make sense, but for virtual you don't have to pay for the second mobility conductor licenses. So you just have to buy licenses for one. The other set of licenses for the secondary mobility virtual conductor is going to be for free as of now. So it's like 2021 June. So this is going to be as of now. So I'm not sure, things can change in the future, but as of now it's available. Just remember, you need mounting kits, you need SFPs, you need to calculate the switch where the APs will be connected for the power budget, and if everything is good, then yes, we are good to go. So this is how we propose a perfect workable wireless solution for your customer's wireless requirement. I'm looking forward for any questions in the comment section, or give a thumbs up, and please feel free to put comment on what could be required from your end for the next video. Thank you. Please subscribe. Cheers up, and happy networking.